Welcome to the CTCL Virtual College Fair. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the sign up for additional sessions. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at that same website where you registered. And now I'd like to turn it over to our presenter.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, everybody should see me in a little box and then a University of Puget Sound logo in our corner with a beautiful shot of our School of Music and students sitting outside on a sunny day. Well, good morning. My name is Robin Eigen, Director of Student Recruitment at University of Puget Sound. Welcome to our session for Colleges That Change Lives. If you haven't noticed, you're already muted and your video is turned off. So if you have background noise or you need to get up and stretch or grab some lunch, that's no problem at all. You won't be distracting anybody during the session. It's just me today. I don't have a co-presenter. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A as they come up. I'll only speak for about 30 out of the 45 minutes that we have today. And the reason for that is that so when we're done, I can go back through the Q&A and answer as many of those questions as I can live for the group. And then any that I'm not able to address here, I'll follow up by email with answers to those questions. I want to focus today on the campus experience that we offer to students, what makes this place special. I also want to highlight that if this sounds interesting to you, there are a lot of resources that we offer to get to know us online, a virtual tour, one-on-one meetings with an admission counselor. We have a really outstanding podcast that kind of goes into detail about some pretty unique aspects of our community. We have some events coming up. You can attend a virtual lunch with a student at Puget Sound if you want to learn more about our dining options and chat with a student about the student experience. All of that information is available on our website at pugetsound.edu/visit. Especially in the world that we now occupy, I do want to begin by just talking about our location, giving you a baseline for where we are. If you were to visit us in person, you'd likely arrive by Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, which is just 30 or 35 minutes north of the city of Tacoma, in between Tacoma and Seattle. And of course, Tacoma is the city where we're located. It's a big city in its own right with a population of about 220,000 people. And we're located right on a body of water, the Puget Sound, where the university gets its name. It's an easy drive to a number of different national parks and Olympia, the state capital. So if you can see my mouse on your screen, the Pacific Ocean is over here to the left. And it actually cuts around this peninsula of land and cuts deep channels into the landscape. So Seattle and Tacoma are 2.5 hours drive from the coast, but we are port cities with ocean water that defines our coastline. So orca, giant octopus, international shipping and economic activity. It's really a fascinating part of the country to live in. To our west, in between us and the coast, we have the Olympic Mountains. To the east, the North Cascades and Mount Rainier. So you're in this thriving, vibrant metropolitan area from the state capital, Olympia, up to Seattle. But you're only an hour and a half from 2 ski areas, 2 national parks, multiple wilderness areas, and great access to outdoor amenities. Tacoma is very much a city of neighborhoods, and our campus is located in Tacoma's north end. The north end is a residential neighborhood. Our campus is surrounded by single-family homes where many juniors and seniors live. It's very walkable. It has 2 separate business districts that are kind of within a 10-block radius of campus. it's sort of the historic neighborhood of the city. So think big trees, old homes, nice views of the water. And when I say walking distance to two business districts, that really means within a 15-minute walk of campus, you have 6 or 7 really quality Northwest coffee shops. We do take espresso pretty seriously in our part of the country. Independent cinema, live music, 2 grocery stores within walking distance of campus. One is Safeway and the other is the Metropolitan Market. So you have kind of everything you'd want in your food universe, walking distance from campus. 2 farmers markets, one on Saturday morning, that's what you're seeing now, that's the Proctor Farmers Market, and then one in downtown Tacoma on Tuesdays. So great options to get access to city life, walkable from campus. When you branch out beyond our immediate neighborhood, you can also easily take a bus or bike to Point Defiance, one of the biggest urban parks in the country, or downtown Tacoma, which you're seeing here. Downtown Tacoma has a theater district and museum district. We have 4 major museums that have a national presence for what it is that they focus on. The theater district is home to a really vibrant cultural and performing arts community in Tacoma. And even in an age of COVID, we're finding ways for self-expression and art and creativity in this city. It's a pretty nice place to be part of the community. Our campus is 97 acres. Put differently, it's basically a rectangle, and you can walk from one corner to the other in 15 or 20 minutes, depending on how quickly you walk. The Tudor Gothic architecture for a lot of students feels like what a traditional college campus, what we hear them say is, looks like what a college should look like. That's obviously subjective, but I think it fits a lot of those ideals. Princeton Review has named us one of the 20 most beautiful college campuses in the country. When I work with students across the country, when I'm traveling, that's one thing I can generally say with confidence, is that this is a beautiful and inspiring place to study. I also want to point out there aren't roads running through the center of campus, so it feels like a contained unit, and it's very friendly to pedestrians. Many folks who live in the neighborhood will use campus to walk. It's just a friendly, beautiful, and inspiring place. Our physical space is, I think, in many ways a reflection of our values as a community. As a liberal arts college, we really focus on involvement and on well-rounded experiences, making sure that students are connecting with and learning from their peers and are engaging with our campus beyond getting just the credits they need for a degree. At Puget Sound, what you do outside of class is part of your education. Yes, we want to develop you as an intellectual and academic and a scholar. We want to prepare you for life after graduation, but we really want to teach leadership. We want you to be a community member who's thoughtful to their position in the world and their responsibility to their community. We want to graduate engaged citizens and lifelong learners. So to that end, we ask that all of our students live on campus for at least 2 years to really provide that strong foundation for community engagement. And many students will live on campus for all 4 years. We have some really great residence options available to students regardless of their year. What you're seeing here is one of our first year residence halls. You're seeing the standard furniture that we supply in all of our rooms. Register actually has some of the smaller rooms on campus, but you'll see extra long twin beds. Everybody gets a desk, a chair, a wardrobe. You can rent microwaves and refrigeration units. Obviously the coffee machine and the printer this particular student brought from home. But the furniture is what we would consider standard. And I think even for the smaller rooms on campus like this one, they're pretty roomy. You have a lot of flexibility to move the furniture around and really make it home. The beds in this configuration are lofted, which creates some storage underneath, but they don't have to be put that way if you'd like it closer to the ground. So again, flexibility to really make it feel like home for you. In your second year, we have a number of different choices for housing on campus. We have residence halls that continue to have these this double room approach. If you have a roommate that you're very, very comfortable with, there's not necessarily a reason to change that. We do have 2 residence halls that have suite style living. So 7 to 13 single rooms inside a suite in a residence hall that has a kitchen, a living area, 2 to 4 bathrooms, just depending on the size of the suite, and you and your friends can take over a suite in a residence hall. We also own 55 houses that are right on campus, and 5 to 7 students live in what is basically a single family home right on campus. And there you have a full kitchen, living room, dining room, basement, combination of single and double rooms. And that can be a great way to still live on campus, but have that feeling of independence living in a separated home. In addition to the residential requirements, a big part of that tightly knit community that we have comes from the fact that we're small. And I've seen here a bunch of statistics about Puget Sound. I really want to highlight our average class size of 17. We have about 2,400 undergraduate students with an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So we're not tiny. In fact, for an independent national liberal arts college, in many cases, we're larger than or twice the size of our peer institutions. But you still get those benefits of being a small school. You'll get to know your classmates and your professors. When we talk about small class sizes, we often talk about the benefits to extroverts, but one of the biggest pluses of a small class is that if you're not someone who learns by talking, your professor will still know you. They'll still welcome you at office hours and can still advise you really well through the class and beyond. The fact that we're small, though, again, because of our size, does not mean that we're limited. We teach more than 1,200 classes each year, have more than 50 majors and areas of study. We ask all of our students to really build breadth through our core curriculum, which is a series of 8 classes you take outside your major. And we push students to really put their learning to work outside the classroom. I think when we talk about liberal arts nationally, I think we oftentimes spend a lot of time talking about those well-rounded skills that liberal arts colleges teach. At Puget Sound, we would argue that whether you major in biochemistry or music, we're going to teach you to think critically, to problem solve creatively, to write, argue, analyze, communicate, and lead. And we would argue that those are skills you need regardless of your major, regardless of your career choice, and more generally for life. Because we spend so much time talking about the breadth of the education, the interdisciplinary approach, and those other skills that we teach, I think that sometimes leads to this idea that liberal arts colleges are somehow soft academically, or that you won't get serious learning in the field that you want to study. I think nothing could really be further from the truth. You don't miss out at Puget Sound or another liberal arts college on that depth of learning in that home field, that specificity of instruction, those research opportunities, the chance to really dig in and focus and launch you to what's going on next. We do that really, really well. What we do is we contextualize those skills with the other liberal arts values that we have. And I think that is really a nice 1-2 punch for students as they enter that phase of being a lifelong learner, start careers. Those liberal arts skills really are valued by employers. Those are things that they're looking for in employees. We have really invested in this idea of experiential learning to supplement that. If you read our strategic plan for what we're going to invest in the next 10 years, experiential learning is at the core of it. And really it's about all of those ways students put practice to the theory that they get in the classroom. It's hands-on learning by doing, through internships, through study abroad, through independent research, through extended community service. Many of our students will do most, if not all of these things by the time they graduate from Puget Sound. And we think it's pretty effective in that regard. The model works, so to speak. We track the next steps of our students when they graduate from Puget Sound, and within 6 months of graduating, 93% of our students are employed full-time, are in graduate school, are pursuing fellowships, or volunteering with programs like Peace Corps or Teach for America. We were actually named a top producer of Fulbright scholars and Peace Corps volunteers. We're consistently highly ranked in the number of students who go on to volunteer for Teach for America. What you're seeing on the screen is a small selection of places where the class of 2019 went to work after they graduated. And I think the message here is just that those liberal arts skills really are in demand, whether major technology firms like Microsoft, Google, National Public Radio, professional sports franchises like Seattle Sounders, investment firms like BlackRock, business consulting like Hitachi Consulting, the Nature Conservancy, Fred Hutch is a cancer research center. All different types of industries and organizations are looking for folks who have the specified deep expertise that comes with rigorous study in your major, contextualized by the ability to think critically, to problem solve creatively, to write, argue, analyze, communicate, and lead. If this is sounding interesting to you, I want to speak for just a few moments about the application process at Puget Sound, and then I'm happy to take your questions. Again, I am giving a somewhat abbreviated presentation today. I didn't really talk about our more than 100 student run clubs and organizations. I only mentioned study abroad in passing without going into the fact that we offer over 100 programs in 50 countries on 6 continents. I didn't really talk about our new athletics and aquatics center or the fact that we have 23 varsity teams, making us the largest athletics program in our conference. There really are, there's a wealth of opportunities available for students at Puget Sound to really chart their own course and find a home. And to the extent that I can, I want to cover those things in the Q&A. But if our approach to education in this type of community is sounding appealing, then we'll talk about application process, and then I'll jump into questions. So these are the things that you'll need to assemble to apply to Puget Sound. I want to highlight just a few. The first is that we know there's a lot of anxiety around the way that COVID-19 will impact application review. At Puget Sound, we're committed to supporting students. Our application review process is holistic, which means that we look at everything in your application, taking into context your community, your school, and your background. And what we're doing is really looking for evidence that you're prepared to be successful in this rigorous academic setting where the education happens inside and outside the classroom. But we recognize at our core that what that idea of good preparation for college looks like can vary dramatically student to student, high school to high school, and life story to life story. So we read one application at a time, and we're thorough, and we really do try to understand you in your own context when we review applications. We know some of you may worry about grades or testing. We understand that there are unusual circumstances. We're going to work with you if your education has been disrupted. Again, we want to know you in your own context and your own history and how you can demonstrate preparation for college. We're not looking for you to tick off a specific list of criteria or GPA thresholds. We're also test optional. So while we do accept SAT and ACT scores, there's no penalty whatsoever for applying without scores, and this is really important. Test scores, even if you submit them, will not be considered in financial aid awarding or merit scholarships. So in a normal year, we would see about 15% of our students applying test optional to Puget Sound. We are fully expecting half or more of our students to apply test optional. And we've been test optional, I think, for 6 or 7 years now. So this is something we're very comfortable with. We are ready to work with you. We will start accepting, we did start accepting applications on August 1st for fall 2021 through the Common Application. The only way to apply is online at commonapp.org. We do have 2 deadlines and 3 options. So early decision, early action, and regular decision. Early decision, of course, is binding. Early action is non-binding. Both of those are due November 1st. And then our regular decision deadline is January 15th. Again, in recognition of these times and how difficult it is to conduct a college search during a global pandemic, We're offering an application fee waiver this year to students who submit their application before that November 1 early deadline. To be clear, you do not have to apply early decision or early action. You can choose any of the three plans, but you do have to submit your application by November 1st to be able to use that early logger fee waiver. After November 1st, our application fee will be its normal amount, $65. Although, to be clear, we will continue to accept all of the national application fee waiver programs. And in cases of financial hardship, we accept a letter from a student's school counselor on their behalf sent to the admission counselor. Scholarships and financial aid are, of course, a critical part of this process. So these figures are for the 2019-2020 school year. The cost of attendance at Puget Sound, so tuition, room, board, and fees, the sticker price comes to about $65,000 a year. I just discovered I have outdated information in this slide. I apologize for that. Our academic merit scholarships actually range up to $30,000, and we award those holistically. We don't run the type of system where your GPA is here, your SAT is here, and we can triangulate an exact amount for a merit scholarship. Like our application review process, we understand that you're multifaceted, and there are different ways that you're going to demonstrate your preparation and strength for Puget Sound. So there are, I think, 5 or 6 different factors we look at when determining merit scholarships. And again, those go up to $30,000 a year and can knock a pretty significant percentage off the cost of attendance right there. I recognize that saying we award those holistically and that they go up to $30,000 isn't necessarily all that helpful for students who are trying to think about what they might receive in terms of merit scholarships. So we did some math and are offering the Dean Scholarship Assurance. So admitted students who have an unweighted grade point average of 3.6 or more will receive at least a $23,000 Dean Scholarship at Puget Sound. Now again, they go up to $30,000 a year, so you might get more than that. And this is not to say that with a 3.4 or a 3.5 that you can't get $23,000 or more. Again, this is a complicated, multifaceted process that's really designed to look beyond some of the numbers. But we hope that this at least gives you a sense for where you might fall in this process. One, I think, really important piece of advice is file the FAFSA. It will be available tomorrow, October 1st, for the coming cycle, and is going to look at your parents' or guardians' tax data from last year. So that should already be available. It won't look at tax data from this year. And I think they've done a lot of work to make the process of submitting the FAFSA go a little bit easier. That is the only financial aid form that we use. So if you look on this screen here, the average scholarship financial aid package for students who file the FAFSA comes to about $35,000. Again, that's average and assuming a student has filed the FAFSA. Submitting the FAFSA at Puget Sound is what we use to qualify students for additional scholarships and grants from the university. You can qualify for scholarships and grants from Washington State, depending on where you're from the federal government, then federal student loans, as well as federal work-study programs. That's what you'll find in a need-based aid package. If what I'm saying sounds compelling to you, but you're not ready to start the application, that is just fine. We have 2 events coming up next month. We have tried to time them so that families can attend, because we understand that families are an important part of this process. So Tuesday, October 6th, from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, we'll have one Discover Puget Sound event. And then Saturday, October 24th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We recognize your schedules are busy and full, and more time in a virtual space is hard in these days. So we really are trying to limit these to 90 minutes and really pack it as full as we can with content that we think is really going to help you to understand us and hear from folks who aren't necessarily admission counselors to understand what this experience is like. both when we're not in a global pandemic and a little bit about how things are going now, because I think we're doing this as well as can be. Again, we understand that being in a global pandemic really complicates this college selection process. So one other program we've introduced just for this year is to really help students connect with us. So if you attend one of these Discover Puget Sound events and conduct an admission interview with your counselor prior to November 1st and submit your application, we'll give you an additional $1,000, what we're calling a visit scholarship in your financial aid package if admitted. Visit is, of course, something of a misnomer because right now we aren't open for visits due to the pandemic. So this is to try to help students get beyond that complication in their search. Okay. My contact information. Again, Robin Eigen, Director of Student Recruitment. I am most accessible by email, but you can, of course, try me by phone. If you haven't recognized this yet from my presentation, I'm not a particularly intimidating individual, and I really like working with students. Having one-on-one conversations about your background and your interests and your goals and how those might be manifest at Puget Sound and whether or not we're a good fit, that's my favorite part of my job. So if you have questions, if you want to talk more about your own journey and where Puget Sound might fit into it, send me an email. Let's set up a time to talk by phone or video. I'm really happy to be a resource for you in this process. I'm going to stop screen sharing here in a second and pull up the questions again. We have about 15 minutes to answer questions. I will get to as many of them as I can. And the ones that I can't get to, I'll try and follow up by email. So let's go ahead and stop sharing. This over and Q&A. First question, which countries are available for the study abroad program and for how long? Great question. So this, at Puget Sound, we really put most of our stock in longer study abroad programs, so semester or year-long programs. You will find some programs that are a little bit shorter, but the majority of students who study abroad do so for a semester or a year. Again, programs in 50 countries on 6 continents. Europe, predictably, is a popular study abroad destination for students. We have an excellent range of programs that we affiliate with for students who are studying a language and are looking for that linguistic cultural immersion, as well as for students who don't necessarily have the language but still want an abroad experience as part of their education. I think there are 5 programs that we affiliate with in Italy, and we do not offer Italian as part of our curriculum, as an example. We do offer full majors in Japanese, Chinese, and East Asian languages at Puget Sound, and half of our students will take a course in Asian studies. So those are courses taught in English that look at Asia as an area of inquiry. That's been a real area of strength in our curriculum for the better part of 60 years. So not surprisingly, both for study abroad as well as opportunities after graduations, we have very strong connections throughout the Pacific Rim. And then I would say in the last 35 or 40 years, Latin American studies has really taken off in our curriculum. We have Hispanic studies, which is Spanish language. Latin American studies courses taught in English that examine Latin America through an interdisciplinary lens. And then Latina studies, those are courses taught in Spanish that look at Latinx identity domestically. So again, a lot in the curriculum to support the study abroad programs. You can actually go to our international programs website. And of course, everything I'm saying applies to when we're able to send students abroad, which is not in this moment. But you can see the list of programs. You can actually see program by program the language of instruction, as well as if there are particular academic areas that program is strong for. So some great resources there. Do you still offer the Pacific Rim Asia Study Travel Program in your study abroad opportunities? Great question. Yes, the flagship study abroad program is the Pacific Rim Asia Study Tour. We offer it every 3 years. I do not know at this time how that cycle has been interrupted because we don't know when we'll come out of travel restrictions associated with the pandemic. But this is a signature program at Puget Sound. It's led by Puget Sound faculty members. and take students through the Pacific Rim for a full academic year. Each month they change locations and change the academic focus of their study, and students play a role in planning the itinerary each time and figuring out where they will go and what they will invest their time in while they are there. I should also mention that the cost of studying abroad at Puget Sound is roughly equivalent to attending Puget Sound in person. So there are a few associated fees with study abroad, but by and large the cost is similar, and all of your financial aid, academic merit scholarships, as well as need-based aid can be applied to study abroad. Next question, will one's test scores help or hurt their chances of admission if they choose to submit them? So you can go onto our website and find the middle 50% range for test scores that we historically have received. And again, we've been test optional for several years now, so bear that in mind. That, I think, will help to give students a sense for where their scores might fall in our pool. I would say it's one way among many that students can demonstrate their academic preparation for Puget Sound. So if you believe your test scores speak well or help you to make that case, then by all means, submit them. You are welcome to. I urge students to not think about their application like a checklist. And I think a lot of students do, probably because we provide checklists. But your application isn't just a pile of information, all the things you've checked off, put it in a pile and given to us for us to sort through. Your application is an argument. You're arguing to all of the colleges that you apply to that you're academically prepared, that you're a good fit for the type of education that school offers, and we should admit you. And everything you submit in your application needs to support that argument. Test scores are one piece of evidence that you can provide, but we know that the test scores are complicated. We're not in the business of trying to decipher if a student was sick on the day that they took the test, or if the test simply wasn't available or was canceled in this year. We know that test scores have systemically disadvantaged a lot of populations in our society who have been underrepresented in higher education. There are a lot of reasons why University of Puget Sound is confident and excited in its test optional policy. I am quite serious when I mean there is no penalty against your application if you apply without your test scores, and I couldn't say that more strongly. Next question, do you offer Greek life? And if so, does it include housing compared to being just a club? Yes, we have Greek life at Puget Sound, so fraternities and sororities. A few things about that. The first is that for a little over 40 years now, Puget Sound has operated a deferred rush. So rush is the process of fraternities and sororities welcoming new members, and deferred just means it happens later. So at Puget Sound, you can't start learning about fraternities and sorority life until the end of your freshman year, until that second semester. And the earliest that you can move into Greek housing is your sophomore year. So we really have a strong emphasis on a common first year experience. And I think what that means is that our Greek community is not insular. This is not a place where you go Greek and that's all that you do. Students involved in Greek life are involved in every other facet of campus life at Puget Sound, and they're excellent leaders and community members. They really contribute to the vibrancy of campus. 75–80% of our students choose not to join a fraternity or sorority. So for students who don't choose that path, it's really not the defining characteristic of social life at Puget Sound. It's one among many ways that students can get involved. I will say the university owns the Greek houses. So all the fraternity and sorority houses are owned by the university, and that counts towards our residency requirement. So living in a Greek house starting sophomore year will still mean that you're living on campus, and they are located right on campus. Next question, are study abroad fees included in the admission cost, or are they an additional cost? So I believe the fees for study abroad programs, and this is, I'm going to quote it to you, but it's listed correctly on the website if for some reason I get it wrong. But I think the smallest fee is $500 and the largest fee is $3,000. Those would go on top of existing charges for tuition at Puget Sound. So when we break out our costs, there's tuition, there's housing and meals, room and board, and then fees. When you're studying abroad, room and board aren't there because you're not living on campus or eating a meal plan, but the fees do go on top of tuition. Molly with another question: which AP exam scores are accepted for college credit? So you can actually go to our website and in just the main search bar type advanced placement. And the first thing that will come up is our policy. And if you click on that, you can actually download a chart of every advanced placement test that the College Board offers, and then what the equivalency is at Puget Sound. In most cases, it's a 4 or a 5 on an AP test that will get you credit, but there are some programs where 3 also gets you credit. Rita, and the same is true for International Baccalaureate. For higher level IB courses, you can get credit at Puget Sound, usually a 5, 6, or a 7, but again, you can type that into our website and get that answered for you. Our classes for this first semester online right now. Yes, we are doing remote learning right now because we determined in July that going remote for the entirety of fall semester was the best way to keep students, faculty, and staff safe during this pandemic, given what was happening right here in our region. Our intention is to be in person again in the spring. Making the decision to go to remote learning in July, I think gave our community the necessary time to really thoughtfully plan for how we were going to continue to offer what's special and compelling about a Puget Sound education in this remote space. So yes, we are online. Our intention is to be in person in the spring, and I know our senior administrators are working hard at those plans even as we speak. Is the policy of test scores not being required applied to class of 2022 as well as 2021? Yes, as I had mentioned, we have been test optional for I think 6 years now and have no intention of going back to a test required policy at any time in the foreseeable future. So you can count on that. What is Puget Sound's financial health? Has the college dropped any departments, programs, or sports? No, we have not dropped any departments, programs, or sports. The university is at the highest levels very conservatively invested. So if you think back to the 2008 financial crisis, yes, our endowment took a hit, but not nearly the same percentage hit as many other higher education institutions. I believe our endowment currently is sitting at around $350 million, and that provides stability to the institution. We have not dropped departments, programs, or sports. We're looking actively for ways to nurture them through this pandemic so that we can bring everything that we do back online. Please discuss the Career Center, internships, full-time placement, student outcomes, grad placement. Yes, Christian. Career Employment Services on campus really is the one-stop shop for students as they think about career placement. It starts with student employment, and I think a lot of students think, oh, student employment is a way to earn some spending cash while I'm a student, whether you have work study or not. Yes, that is true. We have been very intentional at Puget Sound that student employment is part of your resume building. You are developing professional skills when you do this, and we work closely with student employers on campus to make sure that these programs really are developmental, that it's not just a job, that you're building on those. We are a founding member of the National Internships Consortium and are also part of the Liberal Arts Career Network. So we connect students to about 15,000 internship opportunities across the country. About half of our students will do an internship. I talked a little bit about outcomes in general. I'll talk specifically about grad school placement. So I think for the class of 2019, we know that 16% were in grad school the first year after they graduated from Puget Sound. The average acceptance rate to medical school out of our pre-med program over the last 5 years has been 80%. It's actually the same for law school over the last 5 years. So both of those figures are well above the national average for med school and law school placement. I think speak very well to this model of small classes and excellent mentoring and advising throughout the process. The next study I'm going to reference is actually a decade old. They do these once a decade, and I haven't seen the updated data. But from 2000 to 2009, there was a study done on earned doctoral degrees. So in essence, how many students during that decade graduated from a specific school and went on to complete a doctoral degree in that 10-year period? Within that time, Puget Sound was #1 in Washington State, in the top 5 on the West Coast, and in the top 10% nationally. So we know that within 5 years, more than 50% of our students are going to go back to graduate study, and the independent data bears that out. Grad school is on the mind of a lot of our students, even if they get some other hands-on experience first before going back to school. And again, we're very proud of the fact that we are a top producer of Peace Corps volunteers and Fulbright scholars. That idea of the engaged academic, the engaged citizen, these things are really important to us. Over one's education at Puget Sound, can they participate in more than one study abroad program? Yes, they can. I mentioned that we generally do the semester and academic year-long programs. There are also some shorter programs and some summer programs. So we have had students do 2 different semesters, 1 in each country. We've had students do like a summer program and an academic year program. There are ways to do it. Is it the most common? No, it's not the most common path because it's a significant commitment of time and energy, and we want that to fit into a 4-year graduation plan because this is designed to be a 4-year education. But there are absolutely ways to do it. And again, with first-rate advising and mentoring, we can help you to navigate that process. And what does living and learning look like for students now? Our classes virtual. So yes, classes are still virtual. Remote learning is what we're doing. Again, small classes, average is 17. All of our classes and labs are taught by professors, never by grad students or PhDs. So we can still execute that personalized, engaging type of education where relationships are important, and one-on-one mentoring is critical to what we do. We're still executing that, even as remote space. It's one of the reasons I'm really excited about working at the place where I work, is that we pride ourselves on that, and we are able to execute it well. I think I got through all the questions that were listed in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and share my contact information one more time, just so you have that. So that's there on the screen. Do reach out to me by email if you have questions or want to connect. Thank you for coming today. I appreciate your time. And Anna, I'll go ahead and return it back to you.
Thank you. So yes, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you to everybody that was asking questions. That was an awesome Q&A session. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. And keep in mind, this was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to check out the full schedule and sign up for additional sessions. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as the other sessions recordings online. And thank you again. Goodbye. Have a nice day, everyone.